The room fell silent as Benjamin Netanyahu stood at the podium, the weight of global attention pressing down on every word. With an unmistakable aura of authority, he declared, "Africa is our next stop." The words echoed through the grand hall, a calculated display of power meant to unsettle and intimidate. Diplomats exchanged uneasy glances. Journalists scribbled feverishly, and cameras captured every flicker of reaction. This was no ordinary speech. It was a declaration, a challenge, and, for many, a provocation. But before the gravity of the statement could fully settle, a figure at the far end of the room rose with a calm yet commanding presence. Ibrahim Traoré, the young president of Burkina Faso, had been listening intently, weighing the arrogance and the implications behind Netanyahu's words. And then, in a voice that resonated with precision and unwavering conviction, he spoke. His response was swift, sharper than a bullet, and it shook the very foundations of the gathering. Africa bows to no one. Our destiny is ours to shape. Our sovereignty is not up for negotiation. A murmur ran through the audience. Some leaned forward in disbelief, others exchanged anxious whispers. Netanyahu's confident demeanor flickered ever so slightly, a shadow crossing his usually unreadable expression. Traoré's words weren't just a rebuttal. They were a proclamation of independence, a reaffirmation of African pride, and a reminder that history is not written by threats but by resilience. As the tension in the room thickened, the story behind Traoré's words began to unfold. He spoke not only for Burkina Faso but for an entire continent whose past had been marked by colonization, exploitation, and countless struggles for freedom. His speech was layered with historical references, subtle reminders of the resilience of African civilizations, and a vision of unity and progress that transcended borders. From the sands of the Sahara to the coasts of Cape Town, he continued, we rise not as fragmented nations but as a continent with a shared destiny. Netanyahu, a seasoned statesman known for his commanding presence and strategic maneuvering, realized he was facing more than rhetoric. Traoré's response carried the weight of collective memory, of generations who had fought and sacrificed for autonomy. It was a reminder that Africa's strength was not merely in its resources or geography, but in its people's unyielding spirit. Outside the hall, the world watched in real time. News outlets, social media platforms, and countless live streams captured the confrontation. Analysts debated, commentators speculated, and millions across Africa and beyond shared a mixture of pride, hope, and astonishment. Traoré's rapid reply became an emblem of courage, a moment where the narrative of global power dynamics was challenged not by might, but by intellect and moral authority. In the days that followed, the impact of that brief but potent exchange rippled across the continent. Leaders of other African nations publicly supported Traoré, praising his eloquence and fortitude. Grassroots movements, youth organizations, and civil society groups embraced the sentiment, sparking discussions about self-determination, regional cooperation, and the importance of standing firm against external pressures. Traoré's words had transcended diplomacy. They had become a rallying cry. Back in the room where the confrontation had occurred, Netanyahu was confronted with an unexpected reality. No amount of influence or resources could sway the determined gaze of a leader committed to his people's sovereignty. Every calculated tactic, every gesture of intimidation, had been met with a force that was intangible yet undeniable: conviction. Traoré's calm composure, unwavering tone, and meticulous choice of words had shifted the psychological balance. The room, once dominated by Netanyahu's presence, now carried the echo of Africa's voice. Traoré knew the stakes. He understood that a continent's reputation, morale, and future were intertwined with every declaration he made. But rather than be daunted by history's weight, he embraced it. He spoke of partnerships built on equality rather than submission, of progress driven by collaboration rather than coercion. His vision painted a future where Africa's resources, intellect, and culture would define its path, not external powers. As the event concluded, cameras captured one final image: Traoré standing tall, resolute, and dignified, while Netanyahu, for the first time in the session, appeared contemplative. The symbolic victory was subtle yet profound. It wasn't a confrontation of armies or treaties, but a battle of wills. one where courage, clarity, and historical consciousness triumphed over arrogance and assumptions. This moment would be remembered not just as a verbal exchange but as a defining instance in contemporary African history. It marked the emergence of a new era in which African leaders and citizens alike recognized the power of self-assertion, unity, and unwavering determination. It became a story recounted in classrooms, debated in policy forums, and celebrated in communities from Ouagadougou to Johannesburg. And as the world continued to watch, a clear message resonated: Africa's path would be determined by Africans, its future sculpted by its own hands, and its voice, once suppressed and marginalized, would no longer be silenced. Traoré had not only defended his nation, he had inspired a continent to remember its strength, reclaim its dignity, and assert its rightful place on the global stage. In the grand tapestry of history, moments like these are rare. They are not merely episodes of confrontation. They are catalysts of change, punctuating the ongoing narrative of a people determined to rise, resist, and redefine what is possible. The room may have returned to silence, but the impact of that exchange reverberated far beyond, echoing in hearts, minds, and the collective consciousness of a continent ready to stand tall. As the hall slowly emptied, the echoes of Traoré's words lingered in the air like a powerful mantra. Delegates and journalists could not stop replaying his speech in their minds. It was not just a statement. It was a challenge, a promise, and a declaration of Africa's new era. Traoré had shown the world that true leadership was not about intimidation or status. It was about courage, conviction, and an unwavering commitment to one's people. In the following weeks, his words sparked discussions in parliaments, classrooms, and living rooms across the continent. Youth movements rallied behind the message of dignity and self-determination. African leaders, inspired by Traoré's audacity, began speaking with renewed confidence on the global stage. The narrative of Africa as a passive bystander to global power games was being rewritten. Even Netanyahu, despite his experience and power, could not ignore the impact. He returned to his office with a newfound respect, perhaps even a hint of unease, knowing that Africa's voice, strong, united, and unyielding, could no longer be sidelined. This moment became more than a confrontation. It became a symbol of resilience, of pride, and of the unstoppable force of a continent refusing to bow. History books would remember it not for the arrogance that started the exchange, but for the courage that ended it. Ibrahim Traoré had not only defended his nation, he had ignited a continent-wide spark of empowerment, leaving a legacy that would inspire generations to come. And so, as the sun set over Ouagadougou and the rest of Africa, a new chapter began, one where Africa's destiny was written by its own hands, its future shaped by its own leaders, and its voice finally heard on the world stage. The world had witnessed a defining moment. Africa stood tall, and nothing would ever be the same again.